They sit on committees of jurisdiction that oversee the policy that impacts this country. Do you think they're ever going, like, first of all, let's just talk about foreign policy, right? We see this debate. How about you be pro-America and maybe not advocate for foreign wars? How about that? But do you ever expect a sitting member in the House or the Senate to vote for peace when they are personally invested and backed and owned by the military-industrial complex? Do you ever think that's going to happen? The answer is no. And it doesn't happen, and I see it happen every single day. In fact, President Trump's peace plan that he just put forward, he's been trying so hard to index the war in Ukraine, where thousands upon thousands of young men have died on both sides because of what happened with Biden's failed foreign policy, of which, to be clear, they could have stopped the war. We've sent millions and millions of tax dollars over there, and you know what they're doing? They're laundering the money. That's exactly what happened. I'm proud to report I never voted for a single dollar to go to Ukraine, okay? And I still won't vote for that. But you have members of the House and the Senate that are vocally against what President Trump is doing, against what Steve Witkoff is doing, against what Jared Kushner is doing, because they are personally invested and benefiting from a continued conflict in Ukraine, of which we have no business being involved with, of which a peace deal with Russia could mean $2 trillion trade deal for the American people, and that is exactly what we need to be backing. But because they are corrupt, and because we haven't fixed it from within our own institution, this war continues, and it has to end.
President Trump has been persistently and relentlessly pursuing a peace deal to finally end the war between Russia and Ukraine. He talks frequently about the need to end the killing and the bloodshed, and his teams are negotiating now as we gather here. But what I've seen over these months is that every time they make progress and they move closer and closer to that hope for peace, the warmongers in the deep state step up and try to do everything they can to stop them. Predictably, they use the same old tactics that they've always used. The deep state within the intelligence community weaponizes intelligence to try to undermine progress. They leak it to their friends in the mainstream propaganda media to try to spread this and push a false narrative. They foment fear and hysteria as a way to justify the continuing of the war and their efforts to undermine President Trump's efforts towards peace, and do so specifically in this case in order to try to pull the U.S. military into a direct conflict with Russia, which is ultimately what the EU and NATO want. We cannot allow this to happen. We have to see clearly what's happening before our very eyes and stand united in this cause of peace. I've served in the Army now for almost 22 years. I'm grateful to serve. Thank you. I've deployed twice to the Middle East and once to East Africa as part of a joint special operations task force to go after al-Qaeda in Somalia. But during my first deployment to Iraq in 2005, I served in a medical unit in a base about 40 miles north of Baghdad. And shortly after arriving there, I was walking around our camp, trying to familiarize myself with the place, when I was stopped in my tracks by a sign that someone had put up at the gate where most of our security patrols went in and out of every single day.